What it is. What up, you guys? Welcome back. We got another one. A little tired today. I was kind of dragging today. I wake up early, but drank the started drinking more coffee, man. I kind of feel a lot better. The coffee kind of like counteracts the fatigue of the methadone, right? So it is what it is, man. I used to drink coffee, a lot back in the day. Um, and when I was locked up, I used the coffee as a pre-workout. So I'd, make a cup, drink that, and just start working out. So starting to drink more of that, trying to get in the groove, man. You know what I mean? Some days I'm more motivated than others, but still got to get the work done, right? When you work for yourself, if you don't work, you don't eat, basically. You know what I mean? Like, I can't call in. I mean, I can, but that'll hurt the pockets. I'm not really trying to do that. So, so yeah, it is what it is. I don't know what that has to do with coffee, but that's how the brain works, man. That's how it goes. So, I spoke on sober living before, right? I only stayed in sober living once. That was after my first rehab. Went to rehab in 2016 for 2 months. After that, I went to a sober living. And this particular sober living was owned and managed by the owners of the rehab I was at. So it was a pretty smooth transition to sober living. I had to pay 120 bucks a week. It was chill. It was probably, out of all the houses that the owner owned, all the sober livings, this was the nicest one. It was basically renovated sometime before I got there. Pretty good spot, man. Like, I like sober living as long as you got a good set of guys there. It's going to be a good experience. As long as everybody is on the same page, as long as everybody holds each other accountable, right? As long as there's no funny business. What I mean by that is nobody going into your room when you're at work. Nothing ends up missing. People keep their word. We all share a refrigerator. This was a 4-bedroom sober living. Nice little house. And we all shared the same fridge, right? So it was cool. It was a pretty good experience we've had. I mean, there were a couple guys there that I could have gone without, like seen ever again. But that's just how it is, man. That is out of your control. Those situations are out of your control. The only way you have control of that situation is basically leaving. And if you leave, then you better have a backup plan. So this video, I wanted to speak on my first night in sober living. So man, so much went down at that last rehab. I ended up, when I got to that rehab, I was on a 2-week Suboxone taper. And for me, I think that was too long. I've been on Suboxone tapers before in detox for like a week taper. I always felt fine, when I left. But for some reason, the 2-week taper for me didn't work out. So 2-week taper, that's 14 days. On day 15, that morning, I didn't take any subs, obviously, right? And all my withdrawals came back. So I ended up, long story short, I ended up speaking to the owner of the rehab. I'm like, look, I don't feel good. So I left. I just walked out. Went to go relapse, met up with my dealer. That's a whole story right there as far as like how I got there. I was with him the whole day. Ended up, getting high, smoking my H, and then my dealer drove me back, to that night. There was outside meeting. It was an NA meeting. So he drove me, to that area, and I walked to the meeting, spoke with whoever the staff was that night, asked if they could take me back. They did. So fast forward 2 months after that, I graduated the program successfully. I also got into a rehab romance. It never fails, man. I am shot out when I'm using. I'm like 145 pounds. 145 pounds is shot out, dude. Like my joggers, my sweatpants, everything is just hanging off me, right? So completely shot, right? But when I start getting healthy, I start caring about my appearance, start getting more haircuts, start bathing, start gaining weight, your levels are leveling out, right? Everything, testosterone comes back. And so when you're in a co-ed rehab, things like that happen. So yeah, got into a rehab romance, and that's a whole situation. I made a video about that. So on the day I discharge rehab, before I leave, the owner of the rehab wanted me to meet him, at the office, and he was going to take me from rehab to the sober living, introduce me to the house manager, introduce me to everybody, show me where my room is. He just wanted to make sure I got there safe. The girl I was in the rehab romance with, she was there as well. I asked the manager, I'm like, hey, before we leave, do you mind if I say goodbye to her, give her a hug? And I did that. And he granted me that permission. There's supposed to be no contact, nothing like that, but he knew, the seriousness of the situation, right? At the end of the day, it wasn't serious. It was just a little fling, right? A little rehab romance, little bit of lust action. So yeah, so that's how that was. Anyway, we get in his car and we head to the sober living. I think this is around 4 or 5 p.m. So I have everything on me, my clothes and stuff. We go in the sober living, and the majority of my roommates, the majority of those guys that were at work, there was only, I think, like one guy there who didn't have a job, older Mexican dude, and it was the house manager. So 2 people there, and the house manager lives in the rehab. They oversee basically the whole operation of sober living. And so I get introduced to the house manager and to the guy that's there. The guy that's there, not the house manager, the other guy, he tried to get one over on me, right? He tried to be overly friendly. He tried to basically pull a quick one on me, man. He knew, we started talking more, right? We started talking more. I told him I already had a job lined up. I had a car, I had a 2003 Nissan Xterra. He didn't have a job. He didn't have a vehicle. So therefore, he tried to sweet talk me in buying me dinner. So I had some family bring my Xterra to the sober living. I got my keys. I felt good. I was ready to go, right? Nice and fresh. Ready to start this new chapter of my life. Ready to be self-sufficient. Which I was for a while. Made a whole video about that too. How pretty much I got complacent. Ended up relapsing. That's a whole nother video. So this guy, this freaking guy, he offered to buy me Burger King, right? So he gave me some cash. He wanted me to buy him a combo, and then he offered to buy me a combo as long as I went to go get it. I said, cool, man, I appreciate it. This is pretty hospitable of him. So that was cool, right? When we got back, we were eating, and the plan for that night was to go to an evening meeting, an outside meeting. Some of the guys that where I was at in rehab, a couple of the guys were at the sober living, so I kind of had an idea who I was going to be in the house with. Pretty cool, I wasn't worried at all. But I've been to jail, I've been to prison. I'm aware of my surroundings, right? I'm aware of vibes. Like, I pick up vibes really good on people. It's a skill, man. It's a skill. I don't think you're born with it. I think it's just something that you have to experience and something that happens naturally. Not everybody is well aware of their surroundings, but I knew right off the bat, I knew this guy was a dirtbag. I knew he was trying to get one over on me. So that's pretty much how that situation is going at the time. So we're in the living room eating, right? He's like, hey, how's your burger? Just being overly hospitable, overly friendly. Thinking in my mind, like, what you want, bro? Like, what are you trying to do right now? So he said, he said he has a spare bed open in the room. And this guy looked creepy, dude. Just like he's an older Mexican guy, but his ethnicity had nothing to do with this. I'm Mexican as well. But he was just the type of individual. Damn, I keep getting eBay notifications. But he just looked like the type of individual that you'd want nothing to do with, right? I could tell right off the bat, he was there for a while. He'd make so many excuses as to why he didn't have a job. I hate being around people like that. I hate people who, I don't hate people. I hate when people act and are, when there's zero accountability. I don't like that. I got no time for that. So here he is trying to sweet talk me. Here he is trying to buy me dinner. Here he is offered me to be his roommate. And, he just wanted to kick it with your boy, right? I'm sure he tried the same thing with other people there. He had like wolf tendencies, man. Like a wolf in sheep's clothing. But I saw right through that. I already know who my roommate was going to be, This tall dude, this funny white dude. And he was just kind of like a jokester, just like a funny guy that you always want to be around, Like, whatever is going on in your life, when you're around people like that, they just get you out of your head, and it's just a fun time, I was kind of stressed, you know what I mean? I really didn't know what to expect at the sober living. It was my first time there. So that was that, man. And, I told that guy, like, not my roommate, but I told the other guy that bought me the burger. I was like, dude, don't worry about it, man. I'm good. I can handle mine. You know what I mean? I appreciate the burger. If you need anyone to talk to, I got you. You know what I mean? But you don't got to do all that. So after that conversation, he just left me alone. He knew he couldn't prey on me. He knew I wasn't going to fall for that. Like, out of everything that happened in my life, I'm just super thankful things worked out the way I did. If I was never an addict, we'll just say that. If I never did the stuff I did, I probably wouldn't have my own business. I wouldn't have my own channel. I wouldn't be really aware of my surroundings. I'm not paranoid, nothing like that. I'm just aware of what people are capable of. I'm aware of different types of people. I feel In all of my jobs, customer service, hospitality, right? I was a sushi chef. My first job was in the mall, and then I worked in hotels. So I met thousands of people, thousands of different types of people, seen so many situations. And then eventually I went to jail, got to experience so many different types of people there. Went to prison, met so many different types of people there, ran into so many different situations, you know. And I learned over time to be aware of your surroundings. I really didn't know what the message in this video was, but the more I speak on it, the more I'm emphasizing. I really don't like pushing out recommendations or nothing like that. I do like providing messages in my videos. I like talking about what worked for me. I like talking about what didn't work for me, just so you guys can learn from this. I doubt the majority of you guys are on sober living right now. If you are, I mean, that's awesome. I hope it's going good. But, the message in this video is more than sober living. I just wanted to speak on that incident there. So after I got situated in my room, I waited for a couple of the guys come back from work, and then we all went to a outside meeting. It was an AA meeting on the east side, and it was the same meeting that they would take us to in the rehab. So we went straight to that meeting. I got to see all the people, back in the rehab, and they came up and talked to me, asked me how things are, even though I just saw them like a few hours ago. You know what I mean? They're already asking me like, how is it out there? You all right? Like, how are the people? How's freedom? Basically freedom. So, and I saw that girl that I was in the rehab romance with, so that was cool. The rehab staff couldn't tell me what to do, so I walked up to her after, gave her a hug, said hi and all that. And she had I think about 2 weeks to go at the rehab, and her plan was to go to a female sober living. So she did that. We got in contact after she got out. While she was still in rehab, all the staff there at the rehab knew about our situation. And in order to make a phone call, you would have to go to the staff office. So she'd go to the staff office and pretend she's calling somebody, right? She didn't want the staff know that she was calling me. So when she called, we kind of talked about it. I'm like, look, just call me by a different name. You know what I mean? So we had fun, those 2 weeks. And then also when she got out, we had some fun. And, we kind of grew apart, and, I got a job shortly after sober living. I got a job at a hotel. And I ended up dropping dirty, man. Dropping dirty. Going to the batting cages. Going to bars to play pool. I got overconfident, complacent, ended up relapsing. There was one of the guys in the sober living that really got on my nerves, really got on my nerves. So I didn't want to be around the house because he was always like coming into our rooms and just an idiot. You know what I mean? An idiot. Like he was just there because he had nowhere to go. He was there because he was on intensive probation. So he was just there waiting time out, and he wasn't my cup of tea, So I did my best to avoid him, and I stayed out of that sober living as much as I could. I didn't deal with those problems with my frustration, as I should have. And so I eventually ended up drinking some beer. with my roommate, and went on a ride, man. Beer turned into H, turned into leaving sober living, and that's a whole story right there, man. But like I said, be aware of your surroundings, man. You know, things could get ugly, man. You know, be aware of your surroundings. It's crazy out there right now. Okay? Thanks for listening.